Welcome to Unit 3. Let me introduce the new session on Unit 3. I trust that you have had enough experience on the previous units that you've already gone through, which is Unit 1, 2, and then we're going to Unit 3. Unit 3 is fundamentally important because it sets the benchmark as to whether or not you can embark on your business idea to implement it. That business opportunity, you have now learned how to convert it into a legal vehicle to provide that service or product to the community. You've chosen to go as a sole trader or a limited company or PLC or private-public partnership, whatever the case might be that you've chosen. And I trust that by this time you are ready to look at the finances and the true costs. So in Unit 3, the main learning outcomes on the cost-benefit analysis are as follows. How to identify the costs involved in setting up a business, how to calculate the startup capital and develop the financial schedule, how to identify and describe other costs and benefits other than the fiscal ones, how to seal the financial leaks in your business, how to network with other businesses within the area and increase your circles of influence. Fundamentally, Unit 3 will focus on answering whether or not it is feasible to pursue that business opportunity or business idea. Where do we start from? Lesson 1. The lesson focuses on the following learning outcomes: how to identify the costs involved in setting up a business, and how to calculate the startup capital and develop the financial schedule. First and foremost, let us look at Lesson 1A, costs in business. I would say no matter how good the business idea is, costs must be taken into consideration. Moreover, we go into business to make money and not to make friends or to create a hobby or a hobby. Whatever the case might be, we have to look at the financial side of things. I would define costs as money and time you spend in setting up and running a business. And in business, you've discovered that there are types of costs: fixed and variable costs. At this point in time, I want us to look at some helpful resources. As I always encourage, research and look at materials and see how other people have defined terms that we use and how other people look at different things. Let's look at the following example, which I reserved and I wanted to share with you. It's on the tutor2u.net. I do acknowledge the resource there. Let's have a look at how they define finance costs. Here we go. A business has many different costs, from paying for raw materials through to paying the rent or the heating bill. By careful classification of these costs, a business can analyze its performance and make better informed decisions. The main ways in which a business needs to manage its costs are as follows: classification of costs into fixed and variable, direct and indirect. Variable analysis to see if the business is keeping control of its costs. Break-even analysis, which tells a business what it needs to sell to cover its costs. And I also want us to look at this one, an opportunity cost. They say it is the financial benefit forgone of the next best alternative use of money. A business can measure the outcome of a decision by comparing it with the benefits, probably measured in profits or revenue. it would have had if it had taken the next best option. I'll explain later on. The opportunity cost of buying a new piece of machinery might be compared with the benefits of spending the money on a new advertising campaign. For example, you might have scheduled your marketing budget in such a way that every 3 months you spend so much money on marketing. But as you're trading, because business is dynamic, there's a lot of things that change around business. After your analysis, you realize that actually, instead of me spending money into this type of marketing, why don't I cut down this money and spend it on something else, which in the long run will give me more revenue or profit than if I were to market in the normal way I market. For example, recently I had to change the way I market the college. There's a media that we used to use. I won't mention them. I don't want to demarket nobody. For years, months, the only response we get from those media were other marketing people wanting to sell us things. Then I realized that actually, instead of spending this money in this media, which looks good, it reaches the people, but actually it wasn't reaching our target market, so I cut down that one. So what I've done instead, I've put that money aside, and I'm asking people to refer friends through networks to the college, and I take that money and keep it in their hands. So I've forgone to spend in this media marketing, which looks good and posh, glossy, a publication, but it's bringing me nothing. So I've resorted to giving this cash to other people who I believe they bring people, and it's been happening. It's been working well. Now, in business, let me go very quickly here. In business, you find that there are expenses that happens only once. They only happen once, and other expenses, they are continuous because they are needed to run the business. But now, I want us to look at the startups. That's where my interest is at this moment. We'll come back to that stage later on. I want us to look at the startups. And just to prepare your mind, I want you to use your own business and work out the costs involved. And in terms of a cost, I want you to work out for a new business that you're going to be starting, or you probably have started already and pushing things. Work out the amount of time you spend. That's the cost. The amount of time you spend on that business. And also work out the amount of money you need to pay somebody if we are to take up the job that you're doing right now at the time of setup. I want you to make that list, and I'll show you how to use a spreadsheet, because if you can see here in this task, which we're going to use later on, I want you to use a spreadsheet to calculate your startup costs and other things which we'll talk about. I want you to realize that business, even at the time of starting up, time you're writing a business plan, you must quantify it and value it. Put a value on it, monetary value. If you are to use a consultant to bring up your business plan, if you're writing it yourself, how much will it cost you? That is an expense in terms of time and cost even, because when you start running the business, it must bring back all that money. Now let me go back to the slide on the internet and run through these costs. What are variable costs? Variable costs change in proportion to the amount of output produced. So these are the kind of costs that are involved in the running of a business, and things like raw materials or workers' wages or energy or fuel for machines. Now, in your own business, I would like you to pause a little bit here, the resource, and write down what you think the variable costs are. Do you really know the variable costs in your business? Because the danger of you not knowing what type of costs you are incurring is that you find difficult to analyze whether or not here you will break even. You understand that? So you need to classify. You need to classify your costs. Once you classify your costs, it's very easy for you to now increase or cut down on some other costs. So also variable costs. Now give your own examples on variable costs, things which change in terms of the price. You went to buy maybe 10 grams of salt. Would you need the same 10 grams of salt next day, or kilograms of salt next day, or 2 weeks later? The answer is no. It depends on your production and the demand. Now, your business will have what we call fixed costs. Fixed costs are these are the amounts of money that you pay. For example, rent. Rent does not change every day. Probably once every year or every 2 years. When you're renting a building from somebody, rent must be the same each month. Salaries of head office workers. For example, here, you yourself, you are the manager of the company. These can be fixed for at least 2 years. In most companies, we don't increase salaries every month. I don't know of a company that increase salaries every month. They do a review once every year. Maybe there could be an inflationary rate increment dictated by the state, but you can predict the salaries are the same. These are fixed. Heating and lighting. In some types of businesses, heating and lighting can be a bit variable because of the way it's used, but in essence, you know how much you pay monthly for heating and lighting. Insurance is a fixed cost. The premium is the same every month, regardless. Interest on loans. This will be fixed for you. If you borrow from the bank and they say you're going to be paying us a 12% APR, and they'll calculate that amount of money per month, and you'll be paying that amount, you know. Therefore, it's for you to budget on this. So once you have these costs classified, you can set your business in a direction where you can manage it, because you know how much you spend. Therefore, you can work with a certain budget, which we're going to come to the financial schedule. Now, in fact, while we're here, it's important that I introduce the financial schedule, because it is something that I want you to set your mind. Let's look at the way we can classify this cost in the financial schedule, and this also introduces you to how you can create one very quickly. I'll come back to this later on. Let's go to a typical financial schedule. Here, the spreadsheet I'm showing you is a financial schedule. You can put your name there. You can, if it's a limited company, whatever it is, just delete that and put the right name. But what's important to record in the financial schedule is this salaries and wages. Can you see these are the fixed costs? Here, where you see personal wages, it could be yourself, the manager. You can put yourself on a £500 per week, and per month you calculate, quarterly you calculate, so you see how much money you pay yourself in the business. Maybe you're using contractors rather than employees. You can put employee names there when you're set and you know what you want to do. But the idea here is to make sure you classify your schedule in this way. There you go, wages in there. Then at the end of every week, you can tell how much money you'll be spending in running this business. If this is a part of the startup, you know how much money you spend in the launching of your business. Then you have some of the variables. In fact, let me jump from the salaries there to the premises, because premises, these are part of the fixed costs. If you're hiring a room, and you know that, maybe if you're having a virtual office in England is whereby you use another company's address to receive your mail, so that it looks official. If you don't want to work from an industrial base, but from home, but want to receive posts from elsewhere. In England, it's one of the businesses that has come up. Web hosting, this could be variable fixed costs. So you schedule them, and you know every week how much you pay there. You go to the monthly, quarterly, and per year. So from a distance, you can see that how much money you spend on premises in this type of business. Just an example, you can see there, and also then you can see how much money you spend annually on salaries and wages. In this type of business, it's ranging about £60,840 on wages and salaries. Yeah. Then on premises, I think they work from home. They hire premises from time and again. Look at it. It's an idea. So you can draw up one like this one. Then we go to um, administration. Can you see? Stationery, printing costs, postage, telephone transport, etc. These can be different things depending on the business. You schedule them. Have an idea, rough idea of how much money you spend. They can vary. They'll come under variable cost classification when you go to the actual projection, which I'll teach at some point as we go through the materials. So, and we've got some business rates there. Insurance, fixed, premium, marketing, etc. So this schedule can include as many types of expenses or costs that are typical to your business. How do you draw this one? Simply create a spreadsheet and label it as you see on the image here. And once you do this, it's so easy. You can come into the totals, just enter the formulas there. You can enter the formula. Entering the formulas is easy. You can say equals. You put equals in there, then type the word sum for addition, brackets. Then you simply click there and highlight the whole column up to the end of the row there. Then close bracket. There you go. And once you enter the first formula, you just drag across. It's going to replicate all the formulas from here. Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes people choose to say equals. If there isn't so much to add equals, just click on the first one or the shift key and find where there's a plus sign, plus. Click on the next one, shift key, plus. Click on the next one, shift key, plus. Click on the last one and then press enter. It adds up for you. In the same way, if you did use that method, you can just replicate across. You got it. Now, once you've made a financial schedule, then you know that actually the business, therefore, each year, you're going to add all the totals here, which are shaded, and it's going to give you the kind of costs to run this particular business. Can you see that? It's $22,797, and for you to make a profit, you must earn much more than 22,000 in revenue. Your revenue must be 22,000, must be greater, far greater than 22,797. In the first year, maybe you want to break even. Then from there, you begin to rise. So this schedule, at the start of the business, it must be produced so that you really know where you are going. Are you happy with that? Okay. Now, let me return to the slide here. I'll go back to the how to identify the costs involved in setting up a business. Now, let's go back here. Once you have identified the costs that you need to set up a business, there's something that you need to do now. Here, let's have a look. I beg your pardon. Let's have a look back to the schedule. You need to work out a startup costs spreadsheet. This was an example of one candidate who just decided, let's have a very small idea and work with that. Okay. In the startup, you would need a table like this one. Details of startup costs. In this business, if you need equipment that you buy once for all. Okay, list it there. In this type of business, this person wanted musical CDs, an iPod, electrical leads, and then they quoted the unit price and how many of these they wanted, and it came up to it's £50 times 1 is £50 that side. You can format this if you want them to look proper cash. Right click, format cells, and let's go to format cells. It's loading. We want currency. Let's pick up the pounds. Okay, it's £50. So these also should be formatted into pounds. Right click, format cells, currency. Let's pick up the pounds. Okay, once we have them in pounds, because in this type of business, these were the startup costs. They wanted all these things to be in place. As such, in your own business, you need to identify what costs you want to are needed to start up. Some of these costs may be a one-off expenditure. Once you do that, you're going to add. Let's also format that one to currency. Once you do this, you're going to add all these expenditures. So once you add them, in this case, they gave 971 pounds. Pretty small, very small business. But the idea is simple and straightforward. Work out what you need to spend at the onset of the business. And some of these expenses can be one-off expenses. For example, equipment. You don't buy equipment every month. There's something wrong with the business. You can buy equipment every month. Once you do that, now work out how much revenue you expect in the first month or the first year or the first quarter. Let me just format that onto currency as well. Okay, 800 pounds. There you go. And I repeat that one as well. 800 pounds. So this person was doing some dance programs for a group, and they expected in the first month they'll make 800 pounds. Per unit. And once you are set with this, I'm just repeating currency, yes. The dance, they expect that much payment in 4 sessions, and that's what they get in total on the dance and the youth clubs. So in the first month, they expect to make 3,700 pounds. Now, once you do that, you should be able to calculate. The profit in that launch period. Then you see, wow. And yeah, we are working out this before you start working, because you are at the start of the business. Yeah, this is office work. You're writing this, you're calculating, you're analyzing, because it's cost benefit. The first benefit you've got to look at, is it going to give me a substantial profit or something that can make the business sustainable? If these figures turned out to be minus here on the profit, which means it's a loss, there's no need for you to proceed, or you need to tweak something to make it look right. So you must answer these questions at the start of the business, at the onset of the business, before it is launched. You must do this paperwork. Are you happy with this? So you've got a startup costs here, and then you must also look up at the startup expenses. So startup costs, and look up the potential revenue in the first period of your business. Could be the first month or the first year. Are you happy with that? Fantastic. So what I'm going to do here now is give you time to produce that spreadsheet. You pause the resource here and produce that spreadsheet. You must show the formulas. You can write these formulas on a piece of paper or in your booklet. And afterwards, you must upload this to your assignment. And this will show you exactly whether or not your business idea is really worth following. I beg your pardon, I keep going to that slide. Maybe there's something that you need to change, right? Are you happy with this? So let's take you back to the objectives. How to calculate the startup capital and develop the financial schedule. So now, I showed you the spreadsheet here. The startup capital, once you work out what you need to start your business, that cost there, after you add up all these things you think you need to start your business, that will make up your startup capital. But now, in this table there, what is missing is now what we call the variable. In the startup capital, you must include these things here, because a business must be able to cover some of these things in the first year. So this capital must be sitting somewhere. So ideally, I recommend that when startup capital. Get the startup costs, add them to all these things, and get a grand total. A grand total. A grand total. If you want your startup capital to cover you for the whole year, you're going to have to say this is what you need to start up. I believe an ideal business must cover me 3 months, and 3 months of this, or depends on the scale or the size of the business. It should cover you 3 months of salaries and wages, administrative costs, premises, or even 6 months, and some business rates. Then the second trading period, the business must start reproducing and paying for itself. And also, I emphasize, it depends on the size of your business. Some businesses might need a good 2-year cover capital before they begin to make a profit. So I want you to research on this, but the important thing I want you to identify and be able to work with is draw up a financial schedule in this manner, and you will have also learned how to draw up startup capital, what's involved in the startup phase, and the potential revenue that's involved, so that it gives you an idea of how much money you will make when you do any trading at all or business. Like for example, here there was the income they projected if they did some services. Okay, this goes for any size of business. Now let's end here. We'll continue with the projection at a later stage. Thank you.